If you're like me, a huge podcast fan, especially when it comes to health and fitness, you probably run into the same problem I have here. There's simply too much content out there, and there's no way to easily navigate the information and knowledge from the content in a structured way. You want to listen to all of it, get a full picture, build a real structured understanding, but practically it's impossible to keep up. And there is this compulsive urge inside of us to stay informed, to get a holistic view of everything by comparing multiple different perspectives from different creators. So I have turned hundreds of hours of health podcasts into this single knowledge graph or knowledge map with the help of AI. More on this later. And the point here is to combine insights, claims, discussions from these hundreds of hours of podcast content into this single map. Basically, each dot or circle here represents a single topic or concept related to the domain of health, nutrition, and fitness. Clicking on each topic will reveal a list of relationships or connections to some other topics. Each relationship is associated with a source claim or insight extracted from a podcast episode. It's pretty straightforward. You can simply read the claims listed here and click to jump right to the exact timestamp of the podcast video. Quick and easy, which is I think really how it's supposed to be. With this structured way of organizing all of these topics, we're finally able to properly compare claims or insights across different episodes, different experts, different time periods, and so on. Of course, you can do simple searches like search by topics, search by connections, or even select a single podcast episode and see all of the topics and connections discussed in this episode, which I found it to be a nice way to have a quick high-level overview of a 2-hour-long content. This knowledge graph data structure can really allow you to, for example, select two arbitrary topics to see how far apart or how the two are related to each other, either directly or indirectly. So if you're interested, the link to the app is down in the description below. Try explore it, try clicking around, send me any feedback or even feature requests or requests for more content or data. You know, the app is still just an experiment of the idea, so it doesn't have a whole lot of podcast content in it yet. So let me know if this can be helpful, so I'll try to add more data to it. So this app is really made possible by having the capabilities of generative AI or large language models. The method of building a self-contained single knowledge map from linear information like books or videos, in this case podcasts, is not new. There are tons of note-taking and productivity tools out there that follow some kind of advanced note-taking / knowledge management systems, frameworks like Zettelkasten principles and so on. The root problem is that content like podcasts is extremely linear. A lot of information is being constantly streamed into your brain, and your brain has to do all the work of building mental models, finding patterns, making connections every single time you consume a new piece of content. And that's exhausting. It's hard to know where the overlaps of concepts and insights are, and that's the opposite of how our brains work. If you cannot connect what you're hearing, you will probably forget it. And that's why you need some kind of external scaffolding, something that frees up cognitive bandwidth and helps you structure that incoming information. I'd say you can achieve this kind of scaffolding to some extent with traditional note-taking apps. But now with generative AI, you can really scale up this process significantly. For example, by rough estimates, there are over 3,000 hours of health-related podcasts coming out every single day. And AI is making it possible for you to consume that amount of data by restructuring it. Now, when I talk about AI here, I'm not referring to the chatbot format that's becoming so popular. This chatbot format is popular because it's simply a user-friendly implementation, most accessible and understandable by the general public. And what the general public wants is something quick and simple rather than tools designed for deeper or more complex learning. But the real power of AI is in its ability to arbitrarily shape information, in this case, into a graph structure. So the real power of AI is not just a chatbot. AI is a universal, versatile, dynamic shaper of any unstructured knowledge. The point of this app is to have a public and shared place to access all these concepts in a structured knowledge map. Sure, you can absolutely build your own graph with existing note-taking or productivity apps, and you can build your own knowledge extraction AI pipeline, but that can be quite costly in both time and money. And honestly, I just don't think it's necessary to do that double work. We can all benefit from a shared open map built from the same content. Okay, so specifically building your own AI knowledge extraction pipeline can take significant time and effort, and here's why. So first, how does this knowledge extraction AI part work in practice? Well, essentially, you ask an AI to extract health-related topics and connections from podcast episodes and output them in a structured way. But what I've noticed through doing some experiments is that simply using AI to extract structured data, trying to automate the process 100% is often not enough. You can simply write a prompt to tell an AI to do this. And there are many generic knowledge extraction tools or frameworks that are open source out there for you to use. But what I have found is that you often need a layer of human curation and thoughtful design, especially for a specific domain like health and fitness, to really make the process and results truly clear and useful. And that's what this app is really about. It's designed to combine AI with that human touch, to turn a potential mess of connections into a clean, navigable map that actually makes sense for exploration and navigation. For example, I have spent many hours designing and tuning the types of extracted topics and connections and cleaning up the bad extractions. For example, topic names that don't make sense or are just too vague or way too specific. This is true for using AI in general. First, it still makes mistakes, and second, even when it doesn't, significant effort is still needed to curate the output to align with our desired style, tastes, design, or whatever else our goals are for building a truly nice human user experience. So that was it. I have built a knowledge graph interface specifically for the domain of health, nutrition, and fitness. And by doing this, by focusing on this specific domain, the entire system from the data to the web interface can now be optimized for our specific use case and experience, which is to explore, to navigate, to manage health knowledge from content. Currently, podcast is the only source of data. I'll add more podcast episodes to it. Apparently, there's a lot of it. And with this system, it's also possible to add other types of sources. For example, YouTube videos, X posts, blog posts, or even research papers. I just think that this is a very powerful system that has the potential to be very useful in many different ways. Let me know about your thoughts. I'll talk to you next time.